tough loss for us here. You know, we're just still struggling, unfortunately.
You know, the spark just isn't there that you had last year. 5 wins in a row. Any idea what it is?
No, Steve. You know, we've changed the combination around a little bit, and it's you know, it's just we just haven't quite got it. Every run we make, we think we got it, and it's something else bites us. So it's just a matter of trying to work it out.
You'll get it. Poor Bazemore. He beats the Winston champ, doesn't have a fire, and we interview the loser. Why do we do that?
Don't ask me. You're the guy with the microphone. I guess maybe he's news when he loses.
Absolutely. Tom Hoover, Maple Grove, Minnesota. The Who was really looking pretty good at the Goodies Mid-South Nationals after just kind of a so-so the first few races of the year.
You remember what happened here 1 year ago? Well, so does John Force. He left the starting line on a fairly good pass. The engine gave him problems, burst into flames. The tires blew and Force headed into the guardrail. The car slamming into the Armco barrier, skidding down the racetrack until it made it to the sand trap where it flipped over on its side. This accident weighed on John Force's mind for one entire season, and when he came to Memphis, he was still thinking about it. But he was able to put the memory out of his mind for the first 3 rounds. In the championship, he faced Tom Hoover. Force was in the near lane. He was going for his 4th consecutive win, and it was an easy one as Hoover had problems. Force logging a 5:21 at 2:83 to win 4 out of 5.
I'm really tired, Steve. I think the strain of the Memphis, I followed that fear of that fire every round, and Coyle said it was gone, and my guys, they took care of me again, and we're excited. We're in the point saying we think we can be strong, but I think there's more pressure dreaming about it every day, and it's really making it tough on me.
Corey Mack resumed the tour at Memphis, packing a lucky picture of his beautiful little daughter in the cockpit of the car, wearing special gloves to protect the fresh skin grafts on his hands. Driving in no small amount of pain was Corey Mack.
In round number 2, he raced Tommy Johnson Jr. Didn't take him long to get back on track as Corey Mack had a 493 to a losing 495. That put him into the semifinal round against the reigning Winston champ, Joe Amato, and Corey Mack smoked the tires, while Joe had his share of problems, dropping cylinders to a 512 at 285.
And in the final round, who did Joe Amato find on the starting line but that pesky Texan over there? 57-year-old Eddie Hill. You know, we saw Eddie earlier in the season win on a hole shot. Well, maybe the age got to him a little bit in Memphis. Just watch this. Dead late. Amato, not that great a reaction time, just a steady one, and still made it look worse than it should have. In fact, on reaction time basis, Hill should have won. A 493 to a winning 497. Joe knows reaction times. A 97 to whip to 93.
Steve, I knew the pressure was going to be on. I told my wife in the trailer before we went out, you know, having the new Snoopy on his helmet and my Lucky Rabbit's foot and my bag of tricks has definitely helped. But my team did a good job all weekend. You know, we struggled. The car's been running lousy, and we just worked harder and harder. And we just, you know, the luckier we got, the better it got.
Nobody had much time to relax after Memphis. 1 week later, it was Englishtown, New Jersey, the big race on the eastern seaboard. The Mopar Parts Nationals at Old Bridge Township Raceway Park.
And oh, what a scene it was on Friday night under the lights at famous E-Town. Corey Mack, who had a good outing in Memphis, was in the far lane, but his fortunes took a nasty turn. Looked more like a jet car through the shutdown area than a top-fuel dragster. Corey was unhurt. All those sparks are coming off the chassis and tire blew. In fact, it ruined the car for the rest of the weekend, as we later found out.
Corey Mack climbed from the car uninjured, except in his pocketbook.
After what I've been through, it's like one of those things where that happens, you're thinking, what the heck's going to happen next, you know? But they're safe, you know. They're made for that. If something happened, it was bad last time. This time, it was a cakewalk.
In the daylight hours, you saw the gigantic hospitality and operations tower at Englishtown looking down on the Wiltel Communications car of Michael Brotherton against Joe Amato. And look at this race. Brotherton gets there first, and Amato makes history. The first loser ever over 300 miles an hour.
We gave the fans something to remember you by today.
Well, it's not what we want to remember us by. We wanted to win late, but what are you going to do? That's drag racing. We'll be back next week.
Tremendous times. Brotherton a 483, Amato a 487.
Well, anybody who thought Rance McDaniel joined the tour just for the beer was sadly mistaken. McDaniel in the second round, a 503, losing a clutch at only 256 miles an hour to whip Pat Austin. And then it was Kenny Bernstein.
McDaniel and Bernstein head-to-head in the finals of Top Fuel Eliminator. Low qualifier and low ET of the meet had been set by Jim Head. These guys had something to shoot at, a great 481. Rance McDaniel was able to come back from those clutch problems. He ran a 491 in the semifinals, beating Scott Coletta, while Bernstein had logged a 487. But in this championship round, the problems reoccurred in the clutch mechanism, and McDaniel had to park it. Bernstein got a single. He ripped off a great elapsed time, 487.
You needed to start winning right now. You couldn't wait any longer.
Really couldn't. Eddie Hill is getting way out there ahead. When you're a 2,000 points, 1,700, 1,800 points ahead, it's hard to run them down. That's like 2 races. So you shorten the end of the season by 2 races. You give somebody that kind of a head start. So, yeah, we needed to get it together right now, and Englishtown was good to us.
And Kenny gained the maximum because Eddie went out in the first round. Amato was 3rd, McCulloch 4th, and Mike Dunn number 5 after Englishtown.
And what a weekend Englishtown was for John Force and crew. Bernie Federley, Austin Coyle, all the gang. They had a night qualifying run they will never forget, and neither will the thousands of people who witnessed it. Watch the flames. Can't do it any better than that. 5:01 national record.
I know an O when I feel an O, Steve. That thing was trucking. That was an O. It had to be.
01.
01. That's cool. She's a 4-second race car. She's coming. Tonight the conditions were great. Coyle and Bernie said they hopped her up. But that was a ride. That was a ride like I never had before, honest to God.
Conditions weren't bad in the daytime. In the semifinals, CRUZ PEDREGON left another red light at the starting line, forced the win at a 5:17.
Can't look back, can't worry about nobody else and their problems, because every time you get a lead, you do that. Right now, there's only one thing I want. I want to get my world championship back from my sponsors. You know who they are. I want to get them back from my family. I want to get away from that pain that I had. I ain't feeling sorry for nobody. I'm going to tell the fans we're just going to keep winning rounds, and we're going to get that championship back for Castro, Oldsmobile, and Jolly Rancher.
The Nobody Beats the Whiz Dodge Daytona Chuck Etchells called Englishtown, New Jersey, and the Old Bridge Township Raceway Park his home racetrack. He had the problem of facing Force in the finals. He was not up to the challenge as his car went up in smoke. Force crossed the finish line, winning his 5th national event in a row with a 5:14 at 290.
I want to say back home to my family, I got 4 girls, Adria, Ashley, Brittany, and Courtney. I never get to see them. I get to come home finally. It's been weeks. But I want to say the deal that CRUZ PEDREGON did, and I keep saying CRUZ PEDREGON because what does your life is what does your life. And he did it to me, and we've gotten 5 in a row. 5 in a row, is that what it took? 5 in a row, just like him. That puts me right back where I was when I lost my world championship. And I'm going to get my world championship back. We are going to get it back, Steve.
No one was doubting that at Englishtown. By New Jersey, we were starting to call it the Johnson Juggernaut in Pro Stock. And in the semifinal run, it was Kurt Johnson taking on Scott Jeffrey on. Poor Scott getting tag teamed by the Johnsons everywhere he goes. And this time, Kurt got him with a 7:16 to a close 7:19. And that set up yet another, well, actually the second Warren versus Kurt national event final round. And you know what, Dave? The results were very similar to the first one.
Johnson & Johnson once again, and WJ in the near lane in the GM Performance Parts Oldsmobile had the reaction time advantage, the performance, and the win.
You left on him again.
Oh, yeah, well, I had to do what I had to do because we know we didn't have a real performance advantage, and we just rolled the dice.
Well, that gamble helped extend his Winston points lead. He had the big lead over Scott Jeffrey on with Kurt Johnson 3rd, followed by Larry Morgan and Bob Glidden.
All right, we headed due west to the Oldsmobile Spring Nationals at Columbus, Ohio National Trail Raceway. Let's kick it off, Dave McClellan, with the Pro Stock Final, where again, a pair of Oldsmobiles, appropriate for the sponsor, met in the final round, the Johnson & Johnson Company.
Here, Kurt tried just a little bit too hard. By 35/100ths of a second, he left the red light glowing at the starting line. That is a flagrant foul, by the way. And Warren Johnson won it at 7:23, 192.
Another victory for Dad. What do you think?
Dad's bad. Dad's done good all weekend. He's had a few bad reaction times, and the track's been real tricky to get down. But the GM Performance Parts Oldsmobile came through again. Thanks.
That was Frank Hawley talking to Mrs. Johnson on the starting line in Columbus. Funny car. Remember Whit Bazemore, what he said earlier? You drive a funny car long enough, you're going to have some fires. He hadn't anticipated this one.
Not only a fire, but a serious impact with the guardrail on both sides of the racetrack.